My name is Hudson, a 35-year-old single father working in real estate. Right now, my 7-year-old son Tyler is fighting for his life with pneumonia in the ICU. In the middle of this nightmare, my sister Amanda showed up with an ultimatum: triple the rent to $6,800 or get out by morning. I stayed calm, reached into my briefcase, and handed her a black envelope. When she opened it, her face went pale. If you are watching this from your own hospital room, drop a comment below. Life throws these cruel twists at the worst moments, but stick around to see how I turn this nightmare around. I should probably start by telling you who I am. On the surface, I am just an average guy trying to make his way through life. But beneath that ordinary exterior, I have built a successful career as a real estate investor. Not the flashy kind you see on reality television shows, but the kind who works quietly, makes smart moves, and builds wealth gradually. I keep a low profile about my financial success, driving a modest sedan, and living comfortably, but not extravagantly. Very few people know about my portfolio of properties or my net worth. I prefer it that way. 5 years ago, our parents died in a terrible car accident. It was a rainy night. A drunk driver crossed the center line, and just like that, they were gone. The pain was unbearable for both Amanda and me. Our parents had been the glue that held our family together, always mediating between us. Growing up, Amanda and I were never particularly close. She is 3 years older than me, and from an early age, she developed materialistic tendencies. While I saved my allowance, she spent hers immediately. While I worked summer jobs to pay for college, she maxed out credit cards and asked our parents for more. In their will, our parents left the family home to both of us equally. It was a beautiful colonial-style house in a nice neighborhood worth about $900,000. Not a mansion, but a solid family home with good bones and lots of memories. The will specified that we were to share ownership, with neither of us able to sell without the other's consent. I think our parents hoped this arrangement would force us to cooperate and maybe even grow closer. After the funeral, Amanda moved into the house. I had my own place at the time and was newly married to Melissa. Amanda offered to buy my half, but didn't have the money up front. We agreed she would live there and pay the property taxes and maintenance. It seemed fair at the time. 2 years ago, my marriage to Melissa fell apart. The divorce was amicable enough, but it left me needing a place to stay with my son Tyler, who was 5 at the time. I got primary custody because Melissa travels frequently for work. Amanda suggested I move into our parents' house. She had been living there alone all this time. "You can have the main bedroom, and Tyler can have the blue room," she said. "Just pay me $2,200 in rent each month." The amount seemed fair for the neighborhood, and I agreed. I was grateful for the stability it would provide Tyler. We moved in, and for a while, things were okay. Not great, but okay. Amanda and I kept to our own spaces most of the time. She had the entire basement renovated into a separate apartment for herself, complete with its own entrance. Tyler adored his aunt, even though she kept him at arm's length. Tyler is the center of my world. After the divorce, I restructured my work schedule to be present for him. I coached his t-ball team, volunteered at his school, and never missed a parent-teacher conference. He is a bright, curious kid with his mother's green eyes and my unruly brown hair. He loves dinosaurs, building elaborate Lego structures, and wants to be an astronaut veterinarian so he can take care of sick alien pets. That always makes me laugh. 3 weeks ago, Tyler developed what seemed like a common cold. Sniffles, low-grade fever, nothing too concerning. But instead of getting better, he got worse. His fever spiked one night to 104 degrees. His breathing became labored. I rushed him to the emergency room, terrified as he struggled for each breath in the backseat of my car. The doctors diagnosed him with a severe case of pneumonia. The infection had filled his lungs with fluid, and they admitted him immediately. Within 24 hours, his condition had deteriorated so much that they transferred him to the intensive care unit and placed him on a ventilator. My happy, energetic little boy was suddenly hooked up to machines, unconscious, with tubes everywhere. The doctors looked concerned, speaking in hushed tones about aggressive treatment and monitoring for sepsis. I took an emergency leave from work. My boss was understanding, telling me to take all the time I needed. I barely left the hospital, sleeping in the uncomfortable recliner beside Tyler's bed, eating from vending machines, and showering in the family bathroom down the hall. The nurses took pity on me, bringing me extra blankets, and occasionally a cup of decent coffee from their break room. Throughout this ordeal, Amanda visited exactly once, for less than 15 minutes. She seemed uncomfortable with the medical equipment and left quickly, saying hospitals gave her anxiety. I understood that not everyone can handle seeing a sick child, but I was disappointed in her lack of concern for her only nephew. Meanwhile, Amanda had been changing. About 6 months ago, she started dating a new guy named Derek. He was in finance or something similar, the kind of guy who wears expensive watches and talks loudly about his investment strategies at dinner parties. Suddenly, Amanda was wearing designer clothes, taking weekend trips to the Hamptons, and posting constantly on social media about her fabulous new lifestyle. What I didn't know then, but would find out later, was that Amanda was accumulating massive debt trying to keep up with Derek and his wealthy friends. Credit cards maxed out, personal loans, even some questionable payday advances. Beneath her carefully curated exterior of success, she was drowning financially. And she saw me, or rather my portion of the house, as her lifeline. It was day 12 of Tyler's hospitalization. The doctors had just told me they wanted to try a different antibiotic combination because he wasn't responding to the current treatment as well as they had hoped. I was sitting by his bed, holding his small hand, when I heard the distinctive click of high heels on the hospital floor. Amanda appeared in the doorway, wearing a cream-colored designer suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her hair was freshly highlighted, her nails perfectly manicured, and she carried a luxury handbag I recognized from her recent social media posts. It all seemed wildly inappropriate for a hospital visit. "Hudson," she said, barely glancing at Tyler. "We need to talk." I motioned toward Tyler. "This isn't a good time, Amanda. The doctors just changed his medication, and I want to be here when he wakes up." She sighed impatiently. "This can't wait. It's about the house." I reluctantly stepped into the hallway, not wanting to disturb Tyler with any conversation. I could still see him through the glass window of the ICU room. "What about the house?" I asked. Amanda straightened her posture and adjusted her designer handbag. "The real estate market is really hot right now. The houses in our neighborhood have skyrocketed in value." "Okay," I said slowly, not sure where this was going. "I have had the house appraised," she continued. "It's worth $1.8 million now. Do you know what that means for rental value?" My stomach tightened. I had a feeling I knew exactly where this conversation was heading. "I have been significantly undercharging you for rent," she said, her voice taking on a business-like tone that seemed practiced. "Based on current market rates, the monthly rent should be $6,800. I stared at her, certain I had misheard. "What did you say?" $6,800, she repeated. "Starting next month. Or, you need to find another place to live." The hallway seemed to tilt slightly. "Amanda, my son is in intensive care. Hez fighting for his life. And you're tripling my rent? Right now?" "Business is business," she said coolly. "Actually, I need your decision now. If you're not willing to pay the new rate, I already have potential tenants interested. You and Tyler would need to be out by tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow morning?" I echoed in disbelief. "That's not even legal. Tenants have rights. You need to provide proper notice." She waved her hand dismissively. "We never had a formal lease. It was a family arrangement. Besides, the house is half mine, and I can decide who lives there." I noticed Derek hovering near the nurse's station, checking his watch impatiently. He caught my eye and quickly looked away. It was clear he was pressuring Amanda, perhaps even orchestrating this whole situation. "Amanda, be reasonable," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Tyler is extremely sick. The doctors are talking about transferring him to a specialized pediatric hospital if he doesn't improve soon. I can't deal with moving right now, and he needs stability when he comes home to recover. That's not my problem." she said, though I caught a flicker of something guilt, perhaps in her eyes. I need to maximize my investment. The house is an asset, and am not getting a proper return. I felt a flash of anger, but suppressed it. My priority had to be Tyler. Getting into a shouting match with Amanda in the hospital hallway wouldn't help him. Can we discuss this later? When Tyler is stable? I asked. Number. I need your answer now. $6,800 a month, or you move out tomorrow. A memory flashed into my mind. Amanda and me as children, building a fort in the living room of the very house we were now fighting over. She had been protecting me from imaginary monsters, declaring our fort the safest place in the world. What had happened to that sister? Before I could respond, a nurse rushed up to me. Mr. Anderson, Tyler is waking up and seems distressed. The doctor needs you. I have to go, I told Amanda, already turning toward Tyler's room. Your answer? She demanded. Fine, I said over my shoulder. I'll pay it. Temporarily. But this conversation isn't over. As I hurried back to Tyler, I heard Amanda say to Derek, See? I told you he'd agree. Inside the room, Tyler was indeed awake, his eyes wide with fear as he fought against the breathing tube. The doctor was trying to calm him down, explaining that the tube was helping him breathe. I rushed to his side, taking his hand and speaking soothingly, until he relaxed a little. The look of relief in his eyes when he saw me broke my heart. As the doctor adjusted Tyler's medication, I made a decision. I had been too passive with Amanda for too long. It was time to take action, not just for myself, but for Tyler. That night, as Tyler slept fitfully, sedated to help him tolerate the breathing tube, I sat in the dim light of the hospital room contemplating what had happened. The rhythmic sound of the ventilator and the periodic beeping of the heart monitor created an almost hypnotic backdrop to my thoughts. How had Amanda become so callous, so calculating? We had grown apart over the years, certainly, but her ultimatum today revealed a level of coldness I hadn't thought her capable of. To threaten eviction while her nephew lay critically ill just a few feet away seemed almost villainous. Tyler stirred in his sleep, and I gently adjusted his blanket. His face was pale, his cheeks still flushed with fever. The latest update from the doctor hadn't been encouraging. The new antibiotics needed time to work, but time was something Tyler might not have if the infection continued to ravage his small body. They were discussing the possibility of transferring him to a children's specialty hospital in Boston, where they had more advanced treatments for complicated pneumonia cases. The thought of moving him in this condition was terrifying, but even more terrifying was the idea of bringing him home to chaos and uncertainty. Amanda's eviction threat hung over us like a storm cloud. Even if I agreed to the outrageous rent increase, what would stop her from raising it again, or selling the house out from under us? As Tyler's monitors beeped softly in the background, I found myself thinking about our parents. Mom and Dad had always taught us that family looks out for each other. I remembered Dad's words at our last Christmas together. Promise me you two will always take care of each other when we're gone. I had taken that promise seriously. Had Amanda forgotten it entirely? Around midnight, when the hospital corridor had quieted and the night shift nurses were making their rounds, I stepped outside Tyler's room to make a phone call. Michael Richardson had been my attorney for years, handling all my real estate transactions and offering sage advice that had helped build my portfolio. More importantly, he was a friend who had stood by me during the divorce and my parents' deaths. Hudson, he answered, his voice alert despite the late hour. How's Tyler doing? Not great, I admitted. But that's not why I'm calling. I need to confirm something about the house. There was a pause. You mean your house? The one you own outright? Yes, I said. I need to be absolutely certain about the legal status. I have the file right here, Michael said, and I could hear him typing. Let's see. Yes, you are the sole owner of the property at 1472 Maple Avenue. You purchased Amanda's half 3 years ago, when she needed capital for that boutique she wanted to open. And the payments I've been making to her? Those were part of your agreement. Instead of a lump sum, you offered to buy her out over time. The final payment was processed 2 months ago. I sent you the completed deed transfer documents last week. Didn't you get them? I closed my eyes, remembering the thick envelope that had arrived just before Tyler got sick. I had set it aside, planning to review it later, and then forgotten about it in the chaos of the hospitalization. I got them, I confirmed. They're in my briefcase, actually. I just haven't had a chance to look at them. Well, congratulations again. The house is completely yours. Amanda has no legal claim to it whatsoever. The rent you've been paying her was essentially buying out her half of the inheritance. I leaned against the wall, processing this information. When Amanda had approached me 3 years ago, desperate for capital to start her boutique business, I had offered to buy her share of the house. She had agreed eagerly, needing the money quickly. The arrangement had been that I would pay her over time, essentially making monthly payments that she called rent, but were actually purchasing her equity. The boutique had failed within 6 months, and Amanda had never mentioned it again. She continued to live in the basement apartment, and I continued to make the payments. I had planned to surprise her with the fully paid-off deed as a gift, hoping it might help heal some of the rift between us. I was going to suggest she use the basement apartment as long as she needed, free of charge, as a gesture of goodwill. But now, with her cruel ultimatum and complete disregard for Tyler's condition, I was rethinking everything. "Michael," I said quietly, "Amanda came to the hospital today and told me she's tripling the rent to $6,800. She threatened to evict us by tomorrow morning if I don't agree." Michael's response contained several colorful words I won't repeat. "She has absolutely no right to do that," he said finally. "None. The house is yours, Hudson. You can legally ask her to leave the basement apartment if you want to. She's essentially been living there rent-free since your final payment." I watched a nurse check on Tyler through the window. "What should I do?" I asked. "That depends," Michael said carefully. "What do you want to accomplish?" I thought about it. I want security for Tyler. I want to make sure Amanda can never threaten our home again. But I also don't want to stoop to her level. Then I suggest putting together a packet with the deed and ownership documents. Show her the truth. After that, it's up to you whether you allow her to continue living in the basement apartment or not. After thanking Michael and ending the call, I texted my neighbor Carol, who had a key to the house for emergencies. I asked her to locate the thick envelope in my home office and bring it to the hospital tomorrow morning. Carol, who had been bringing me fresh clothes and checking on the house regularly during Tyler's hospitalization, agreed immediately. Throughout the night, my phone buzzed with increasingly threatening texts from Amanda. "I need your first increased payment by noon tomorrow. I've already shown the house to 2 potential tenants. They're ready to move in immediately. If you're not out by tomorrow, I'll have your things moved to storage." Each message stoked my anger, but also strengthened my resolve. The old Hudson might have continued appeasing Amanda to keep the peace. The new Hudson, forged in the crucible of watching his son fight for his life, wasn't going to back down. By morning, I had a plan. I would reveal the truth to Amanda, but I would do it calmly and with dignity. I wouldn't seek revenge, but I would establish clear boundaries. Most importantly, I would ensure that Tyler would have a stable home to return to when he recovered, because he would recover. He had to. As dawn broke, casting a pale golden light through the hospital window, I made a promise to my sleeping son. "No more letting people take advantage of us, buddy. From now on, we stand our ground." Carol arrived at 9, bringing the envelope from my office along with a bag containing a fresh shirt and some homemade muffins. I thanked her profusely, then opened the envelope and reviewed the documents inside. Everything was in order. The deed showed me as the sole owner of the property. The payment history confirmed that I had completed buying out Amanda's share 2 months ago. I took these documents, along with the correspondence between Michael and me regarding the purchase agreement, and placed them in a black presentation folder I had in my briefcase. It looked official and somewhat ominous with its matte black exterior and embossed edges. Then I waited for Amanda to make her next move. I didn't have to wait long. Around 11 that morning, Amanda strode into the ICU waiting area where I was having a quick coffee while Tyler underwent some tests. She was dressed even more extravagantly than yesterday, in a designer outfit that probably cost thousands. Derek hovered behind her, scrolling through his phone with an impatient expression. "Hudson," she said briskly, "I've brought the contact information for a moving company." She thrust a business card at me, They can pack up your things today and move them to a storage facility. I didn't take the card. Tyler's doctors just told me they want to transfer him to Boston Children's Hospital for specialized treatment. His condition is critical. Amanda barely reacted to this news about her nephew. That's unfortunate, but it doesn't change our arrangement. In fact, if you're going to Boston, it makes even more sense for you to vacate the house now. Amanda, I said carefully, have you been to the house today? She frowned, seemingly confused by the change in subject. No, why? Because I just got a call from our neighbor Carol. Apparently, there are strangers walking through our house. They said you gave them permission to view it. Amanda had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Those are potential tenants. They're very interested and can pay the full asking price immediately. I told them they could look around. You let strangers into the house without my knowledge? They could be going through our personal belongings, through Tyler's things. Don't be dramatic. I told them to stay out of the bedrooms. I felt a surge of anger. And you trust complete strangers to respect that request, while they're unsupervised in our home? It's not just your home, she snapped. It's half mine, and I can show it to whoever I want. Derek finally looked up from his phone. Amanda, we need to wrap this up. We have that lunch reservation at noon. I noticed a doctor approaching us with a serious expression, and I held up a hand to pause the conversation. Dr. Miller, how is Tyler? The doctor looked concerned. We've reviewed the latest scans. The infection is proving stubborn, and we're worried about his left lung. The transfer to Boston is becoming more urgent. We'd like to schedule it for tomorrow morning, if possible. Of course, I agreed immediately. Whatever he needs. There's something else, Dr. Miller continued. Children in Tyler's condition do better with stability and familiar surroundings during recovery. Once he's released from the hospital, he'll need a consistent, stress-free environment. Any major changes like moving could potentially set back his recovery. I nodded, acutely aware of Amanda listening to this conversation. I understand. Tyler's stable home environment is my top priority. As Dr. Miller walked away, Amanda resumed as if the interruption about her critically ill nephew hadn't happened. So, as I was saying, you need to be out by tonight. The new tenants want to move in tomorrow. I looked at her incredulously. Did you not just hear what the doctor said? Tyler needs stability. Moving him during his recovery could harm him, she shrugged. You can find another place. Maybe something closer to the Boston hospital. That was the moment I realized how completely money had corrupted my sister. Her nephew's health meant nothing compared to her financial interests. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out the black folder. Before you continue with this eviction plan, I said calmly, there's something you should see. Amanda glanced at the folder with mild annoyance. What is that? Open it. With an exaggerated sigh, she took the folder and flipped it open. Her expression changed instantly as she began to read the first document, a copy of the deed with my name, listed as the sole owner. What is this? She asked, her voice suddenly uncertain. Keep reading. She flipped through the pages, her face growing paler with each document she examined. The payment history, the purchase agreement, the final transfer of deed, the official county records. This can't be right, she stammered. It's all there, Amanda. 3 years ago, when you needed money for your boutique, I offered to buy your half of the house. You agreed. I've been making payments to you every month since then, completing the purchase 2 months ago. The house is mine, legally, and entirely mine. Derek, suddenly interested, peered over Amanda's shoulder at the documents. What's going on? The house? Amanda said faintly. Hudson owns it. All of it. Derek's expression hardened. You told me you owned that house. You said we could rent it out for income or sell it to fund our investment opportunity. I thought I did own it. Amanda protested weakly. I mean, half of it. I forgot about the agreement with Hudson. You forgot selling your $500,000 property? Derek asked incredulously. Amanda's face had gone from pale to bright red. She turned on me furiously. You tricked me. You knew all along, and you've been paying me rent as some kind of sick joke. I never called it rent, I corrected her. You did. I referred to them as payments, which is exactly what they were. Payments toward buying your share of the house. And I continued letting you live in the basement apartment rent-free, even after the house became fully mine 2 months ago. Why didn't you tell me? She demanded. I was going to surprise you, I admitted. I thought maybe it would help repair our relationship if I told you the house was paid off and you could stay in the basement apartment without any financial obligation. But then Tyler got sick, and I never got the chance. Derek was already backing toward the door. Amanda, we need to talk, privately. She ignored him, still staring at the documents in shock. So all this time, I confirmed, you've been living in my house, for free, and now you're trying to evict me and my critically ill son from my own property. A nurse appeared, looking uncomfortable. Excuse me, but we've had complaints about raised voices. This is an ICU waiting area. People here are dealing with serious medical situations. I immediately lowered my voice. I apologize. Amanda wasn't so considerate. This is a private family matter, she snapped at the nurse. Not anymore, Derek interjected coldly. Amanda, outside, now. As they stepped out into the hallway, I could hear their heated argument even through the closed door. Derek was clearly furious about Amanda's deception regarding the house. I heard phrases like relationship built on lies and can't trust you with anything. When Amanda returned 20 minutes later, she was alone and had clearly been crying, her expensive mascara leaving dark streaks down her cheeks. Derek broke up with me, she said flatly, dropping into a chair across from me. I didn't respond immediately. Part of me felt she deserved it, but another part still remembered the little girl who had protected me from imaginary monsters. I'm sorry, I said finally. No, you're not, she replied, but without much heat. So what happens now? Are you going to throw me out on the street? Before I could answer, a nurse called my name. Mr. Anderson? Tyler is asking for you. We'll finish this conversation later, I told Amanda, standing up. For now, I need to be with my son. As I walked away, I heard Amanda say quietly, Hudson, I didn't know he was that sick. I really didn't know. Whether that was true or not, I couldn't say. But at that moment, it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the little boy waiting for me in the ICU, fighting for every breath. The next 48 hours were a blur of medical consultations, ambulance transfers, and worried waiting. Tyler was moved to Boston Children's Hospital, where a team of specialists immediately began a more aggressive treatment plan. I barely thought about Amanda or the house situation, focused entirely on my son's survival. On the third day in Boston, I was dozing in the now familiar hospital chair when my phone buzzed with a text from Carol, my neighbor. Thought you should know, Amanda is moving her things out of the house. She has a small moving truck and some friends helping. I frowned, unsure how to feel about this development. I hadn't asked Amanda to leave, though I certainly had the right to. We hadn't finished our conversation at the hospital. Part of me was relieved that she was removing herself from the situation, but another part worried about where she was going. Later that afternoon, as Tyler was showing the first real signs of improvement, I received a call from an unknown number. Hudson Anderson? A male voice asked when I answered. Yes. Who's this? My name is Marcus. I'm a friend of Amanda's. I'm helping her move her things out of the basement apartment. I tensed, preparing for more drama. Okay. She asked me to call you, Marcus continued. She wanted me to tell you that she's sorry about everything that happened. She's moving into my spare room temporarily until she figures things out. This was unexpected. She said she's sorry? Yeah. She's pretty broken up about it all, especially about your kid. How's he doing, by the way? Better, I said cautiously. The new treatment seems to be working. That's good to hear, man. Really good. There was a pause. Look, Amanda made some bad choices. She got caught up trying to impress that Derek guy and dug herself into a financial hole. It doesn't excuse what she did, but I thought you should know she's not just some heartless monster. I sighed, rubbing my tired eyes. I know she's not. We have a complicated history. She told me to tell you something else too, she said. Tell Hudson I remember the fort. A lump formed in my throat. Our childhood fort in the living room. The safest place in the world. Thanks for letting me know, I managed to say. After hanging up, I sat by Tyler's bed, watching him sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks. His color was better, and the doctors were cautiously optimistic. As I looked at my son, I thought about family, forgiveness, and the future. The next 2 weeks were a roller coaster of improvements and setbacks for Tyler, but eventually, the specialist treatments began to work consistently. His lungs slowly cleared, his fever subsided, and the spark returned to his eyes. The day they removed his breathing tube was one of the happiest of my life. "Can we go home soon?" Tyler asked in a raspy voice, still weak from his ordeal. "Soon, buddy," I promised. "The doctors want to make sure you're strong enough first." "Is Aunt Amanda going to be there?" he asked innocently. I hesitated, unsure how to explain the situation to a 7-year-old. "Aunt Amanda is staying with a friend right now." "Because she was mean to you?" Tyler asked, surprising me with his perception. "What makes you say that?" He shrugged his thin shoulders. "I heard you arguing before I got really sick. She wanted more money, and she never came to see me in the hospital. That's mean." Out of the mouths of babes. "Adults sometimes have complicated disagreements," I said carefully. "Aunt Amanda and I need to work some things out." "She should say sorry," Tyler declared, with the simple moral clarity of childhood. "Maybe we all need to say some sorries," I replied. As Tyler continued to recover, I received occasional updates about Amanda from mutual acquaintances. She had taken a job at a local coffee shop, a far cry from the luxurious lifestyle she had been trying to maintain with Derek. She had also, according to Carol, been asking how Tyler was doing. Finally, after 23 days in the hospital, Tyler was discharged with a treatment plan and follow-up appointments scheduled. As we drove home, he gazed out the window with wonder, as if seeing the world for the first time. "Everything looks different," he observed. "You've been in the hospital a long time," I explained. "Nearly a month." "A whole month?" he exclaimed. "That's like forever." I smiled, grateful beyond words to hear his normal childish exaggerations again. When we pulled into our driveway, I was surprised to see the front yard had been tidied up. The grass was freshly mowed, and the flower beds weeded. Carol met us at the door, holding a welcome home banner that several neighbors had signed. "The whole neighborhood pitched in," she explained. "We wanted the house to be perfect for Tyler's return." Inside, the house was spotlessly clean. Fresh groceries filled the refrigerator, and a stack of get well cards from Tyler's classmates sat on the coffee table. On the kitchen counter was a small potted plant with a note. "Welcome home, Tyler. I'm sorry I wasn't a better aunt. I'm working on it. Love, Amanda." Tyler spotted the plant immediately. "Is that from Aunt Amanda?" he asked excitedly. "Yes, it is," I confirmed. "Can I call her? I want to tell her about the hospital and all the cool machines they had." I hesitated, then nodded. "Maybe tomorrow, when you've had some rest." That evening, after getting Tyler settled in his own bed for the first time in nearly a month, I sat on the back porch with a much-needed beer. The night was clear, stars twinkling overhead in a way that reminded me of childhood summers in this very yard. Amanda and I catching fireflies while our parents watched from this same porch. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Is he home? Is he okay?" I typed back, "He's home. He's going to be fine. He wants to talk to you tomorrow." The reply came quickly. "I'd like that. Hudson, I'm so sorry for everything." I stared at those words for a long time, feelings of anger, hurt, and familial love all swirling together. Finally, I wrote, "The basement apartment is empty if you need a place to stay while you get back on your feet." Her response was just one word. Why? It was a fair question. Why would I offer her a place to stay after what she'd done? I thought carefully before answering. Because we're family. And this house has always been meant for family. 3 months passed. Tyler recovered fully, his young body resilient in a way that amazed his doctors. He returned to school, rejoined his t-ball team, and resumed building his elaborate Lego structures. The only lingering effect of his illness was a slight wheeze when he exerted himself too much, which the doctors assured me would likely disappear with time. Amanda had accepted my offer to move back into the basement apartment. The arrangement came with conditions. No rent for 6 months while she got back on her feet, after which we would discuss a reasonable amount based on her financial situation. She would contribute to household chores and utilities. Most importantly, she would seek counseling for her spending habits and materialistic tendencies. To my surprise, she agreed to everything without argument. The Amanda who returned to the house was different from the one who had threatened to evict us. She was humbled, quieter, and seemingly genuinely remorseful. She kept her space tidy, contributed more than her share to household tasks, and made a visible effort with Tyler, who was delighted to have his aunt back. One evening, as we sat on the back porch while Tyler played in the yard, Amanda brought up something that had clearly been on her mind. "I've been thinking a lot about Mom and Dad," she said, swirling the iced tea in her glass, "about what they wanted for us. For this house." I nodded but didn't interrupt. "They wanted it to keep us connected," she continued, "to give us both security and a sense of family continuity. I lost sight of that completely." "We both did, in different ways," I admitted. "I should have been more transparent about the ownership situation." She shook her head. "No, you were trying to do something nice. I was the one who got greedy and entitled." She paused, watching Tyler attempt a cartwheel on the lawn. "My therapist says I've been using material things to fill an emotional void, trying to buy status and validation instead of earning it." "That sounds insightful," I said. "It's true. After Mom and Dad died, I felt adrift. Derek seemed to offer stability through wealth and status. I was willing to do anything to keep that lifestyle, even hurt my own family." She looked at me directly. "I'm truly sorry, Hudson, for all of it." "I know you are," I said. And I did know. I had seen the changes in her, the genuine efforts to rebuild trust. "My therapist also suggested something else," Amanda continued. "She thinks I should find purpose through work I actually care about, not just jobs that pay the bills." "That makes sense. Any ideas?" Amanda hesitated. "Actually, yes. I've been thinking about real estate." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? Not the high-pressure sales kind," she clarified quickly. "More the behind-the-scenes administrative work. I'm good at organization and detail. I was wondering if maybe your company might have an entry-level position? Something where I could learn the business properly?" The old Hudson might have dismissed this idea immediately, seeing it as another example of Amanda looking for an easy solution. But the new Hudson, tempered by recent experiences, considered it thoughtfully. "It wouldn't be easy," I warned her. "You'd start at the bottom. Basic salary, regular hours, no special treatment." "I understand," she said earnestly. "I want to earn my way, Hudson. Really earn it this time." 2 weeks later, Amanda started as an administrative assistant in my company's office. To everyone's surprise, especially her own, she excelled. Her attention to detail, personable nature with clients, and willingness to learn made her a valuable team member. For the first time in her life, she was building something through consistent effort rather than shortcuts. At home, our relationship slowly healed. We established clear boundaries and open communication. Tyler thrived in the more harmonious environment, often serving as a bridge between us when things got tense. His innocent perspective and natural forgiveness set an example for both of us. As Thanksgiving approached, Amanda suggested we host a dinner for the neighbors who had supported us during Tyler's illness. "It's time we gave back to the community," she said. "This house should be a place that brings people together, like when Mom and Dad were alive." The dinner was a success, filling the old house with laughter and conversation. Carol, Marcus, Tyler's teacher, and several other neighbors joined us, everyone contributing dishes and stories. As I looked around the table, I realized we had created something our parents would have been proud of. A home that served as a center of community and connection. After dinner, when the guests had gone, and Tyler was in bed, Amanda and I sat in the living room with the last of the wine. "Do you remember the fort we used to build right here?" she asked, pointing to the space between the couch and the fireplace. "The safest place in the world," I recalled with a smile. "I want to create that feeling again," Amanda said softly. "Not just for us, but for Tyler too." In that moment, I realized how far we had come. From the brink of legal battles and permanent estrangement to sitting together in our family home, planning for a shared future. The journey hadn't been easy, and we still had work to do, but the foundation was solid once again. "I think we're getting there," I told her, and I meant it. 1 year after the hospital confrontation, our lives had transformed in ways I never could have predicted. Tyler was completely healthy, thriving in school and sports. Amanda had been promoted at work and was studying for her real estate license in the evenings. I had scaled back my hours to spend more time with Tyler and pursue some long-deferred personal interests. The house itself had evolved too. We had repainted the exterior, updated the kitchen, and converted the old playroom into a shared office space where Amanda and I sometimes worked together on weekends. The basement apartment remained Amanda's private domain, but she spent most evenings upstairs with us, helping Tyler with homework or joining our movie nights. On the anniversary of Tyler's hospitalization, we decided to plant a tree in the backyard as a symbol of renewal and growth. Tyler selected a young oak, declaring it would live for hundreds of years, even when we're all old. As we patted the soil around the sapling, Amanda said thoughtfully, "You know, I've been thinking about the legal ownership of the house." I tensed slightly, old worries resurfacing. "What about it?" "I think we should update it," she said. "Not back to 50-50 like before, but maybe 70-30. I'd like to have some ownership again, to truly be invested in this place. I can pay you for the percentage over time, from my salary." I studied her face, looking for signs of the old materialistic Amanda. Instead, I saw sincere desire to rebuild what had been broken. "Why is that important to you?" I asked, not challenging, but genuinely curious. She knelt to help Tyler water the tree. "Because ownership comes with responsibility. I want to be accountable for something meaningful, not just entitled to it. Does that make sense?" It did. More than she knew. That evening, after Tyler was asleep, I brought out a document I had asked Michael to prepare weeks earlier, anticipating this conversation might eventually happen. "I've been thinking about the house too," I told Amanda, sliding the folder across the table to her. She opened it cautiously, perhaps expecting another revelation like the black envelope from a year ago. Instead, she found a new deed, already prepared, showing her as a 30% owner of the property. "Hudson," she gasped. "You already did it?" "Not yet," I clarified. "It's ready to be filed, but I wanted to discuss the terms first. There's no payment plan listed." She looked confused. "But how would I buy the 30%? "You wouldn't," I said simply. "Consider it your inheritance, the way Mom and Dad intended." "But after what I did," she protested, "trying to evict you and Tyler when he was sick." "This isn't about erasing the past," I explained. "It's about building the future. Tyler needs to see that family can overcome even the worst conflicts. That forgiveness isn't just talk, but action." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't deserve this." "Maybe not," I agreed. "But that's the thing about family. It's not always about what we deserve. Sometimes, it's about what we need to heal and grow." "There should be conditions," she insisted. "Something to hold me accountable." I nodded, respecting her desire for boundaries. "How about this? The partial ownership comes with a binding agreement that the house remains Tyler's secure home, regardless of any future disagreements between us. It can never be sold without both our consent, and neither of us can force the other to leave." "That's fair," she agreed. "And I want to add something else. A portion of any future increase in property value gets set aside for Tyler's college fund." We shook hands, then spontaneously turned it into a hug, awkward at first, but then genuine. It felt like closing an old wound that had been left to fester for too long. The next morning, as we sat having breakfast, Tyler looked between us with a child's perceptiveness. "You guys aren't fighting anymore, are you?" "No, buddy," I assured him. "We're not fighting anymore." "Good," he declared, returning to his cereal. "Because fighting is dumb. Families are supposed to help each other." Amanda and I exchanged glances over his head, amused and humbled by his simple wisdom. Later that week, we filed the new deed together. As we left the county clerk's office, Amanda said, "You know what I realized through all this? The house was never really the valuable thing. It was what it represented: connection, safety, continuity. I almost destroyed all that for money. But you didn't. I reminded her. In the end, you chose family. Only after you showed me what that really means, she admitted. As we drove home, I reflected on the journey of the past year. The crisis that had nearly torn our family apart had ultimately strengthened it. Amanda had grown from entitled and materialistic to responsible and caring. I had learned to set boundaries while still offering forgiveness. Tyler had shown us both what resilience and unconditional love look like. The house on Maple Avenue was once again what our parents had intended it to be. Not just a valuable piece of real estate, but a home where family could heal, grow, and support each other through life's challenges. That evening, sitting on the porch watching Tyler and the neighborhood kids play tag in the yard, I realized the deepest lesson of all. True wealth isn't measured in property or possessions, but in our capacity to transform conflict into connection and resentment into reconciliation. In choosing restoration over retribution, we hadn't just saved a house, we had rebuilt a family. Have you ever faced a situation where forgiveness seemed impossible, but ultimately brought healing? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this journey of family reconciliation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that even the deepest family wounds can heal with time, truth, and genuine effort. Thank you for joining me for this personal story. And remember, sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the battle, but in finding the courage to lay down your weapons and rebuild.